Welcome, everybody, to the OPT Network. This morning, we're continuing our series on miracles. And I said it before, sometimes we think that miracles don't really happen. And if they do, that they just happen to other people. And so this morning, we're talking about another miracle and hope. Our guest this morning is Melshika Bowman. We just call her Mel. And she joins us to talk about her journey and her miracle of life. Mel, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So, native Alexandrian, went to Peabody.
Yes, ma'am.
Was a hooper, loved basketball. So tell us about your basketball journey in high school.
Well, for me, I started late. I started in junior high, went to Tauga Junior High, finished and went to Peabody. And from there, we won the championship my sophomore year. And then from there, I was able to go and get a scholarship to Louisiana Tech.
When did you know that you loved the game? Did you fall in love with basketball?
It took me a while, like I said, because I started late. And so in high school, I did.
And you were so tall. Were you uncoordinated at first?
Very much. Yes, ma'am.
So
yes,
when does your self catch up to your body?
My freshman year, actually. My coach there, Deborah Marzullo, she took me under her wings and taught me everything I needed to know. Yes, ma'am.
And then does it start to be a burning desire to get a scholarship?
It does.
Do schools start to look at you?
Yes, because as the child, you want to make your parents proud. And so for me, that was going to be to get an athletic scholarship to a university. I had quite a few offers, but playing locally would allow my parents and my family to travel to see me play.
And so you decide to sign with the Lady Textures.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
And so tell us about that.
So playing for Louisiana Tech was a big deal. Again, since it was local, my parents.
But they've always had an incredible program.
Yes, yes. And so tradition is a big deal. And I knew some of the players before. And so during your visit, they talk to you and persuade you and get you to, see the campus life and, travel and just make it what it is.
Who were you looking at, as a girl that was at Tech at the time that you were looking forward to playing with?
Amanda Wilson. She's from Shreveport, Louisiana. Played behind her, practiced with her, and that's who it was.
That's who it was?
Yes, ma'am.
And so was she encouraging you?
Very much. Yes, she was a beast. She stayed on me. She showed me the way.
And so you go in and you become part of the culture.
Yes, ma'am.
At Tech. And then life starts to happen. Tell us about that faithful day.
So it's October 1998. I was with two other ladies. We were actually going to go and catch a movie in Monroe. It was homecoming. So after the game, we went by a fellow friend's house just to go visit. And then we left from there and was headed out. The young lady driving the car, name's Tamara, she, I don't know. It was just, I don't know.
What don't you know? Looking back on that day, was there something off?
I'm not going to say anything off. I think she was just in a rush. It was just, we want to get there. She was just in a rush. And so she has this red convertible Mustang. So it's beautiful, so we got to show it off.
Absolutely.
Type thing,
You're flossing.
You got to show it off. And so what happened, she was driving. I was in the passenger side. So by the time I closed my door for us to leave, she had already took off. So in a Mustang, my knees are already at the dashboard because how tall I am. So I didn't have time to put on my seatbelt.
So you're 6'3".
I'm 6'3". Yes, ma'am. So if I would have put on my seatbelt at the time, I would have died on impact. But because I did not have on my seatbelt, I'm able to tell this story. So she takes off. The road that we were on had a lot of deep, bad curves in it, and it's known for it.
Were y'all on the back roads?
Yes, ma'am.
Of Ruston going to Monroe?
Yes, ma'am. And so she hit 70, just like that. And so a truck was coming towards us. It swerved to miss us, but it caused her to lose control of the vehicle. So we start to spin.
Was the top down?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, yes, it was. I'm sorry. Yes, it was. Another truck comes, hits on my side. We're all ejected from the vehicle.
Wow.
Okay. They say I flew like 150 feet from the scene. And it's very fascinating that I always tell it because they said I landed, in a ditch at a slant. If I would have landed flat on the ground, I would have died on impact. But just for this little slant, I'm able to tell the story.
When the truck is coming at you, do you guys know that your life is going to be hanging in the balance? Do you
Not
know
at
something
all.
terrible?
All you see is these lights. All we saw was lights, you know, and it's like, man, what happens next, you know? And so what happened, I wake up and this truck that hit us is on me. So I didn't feel the initial impact. I woke up with it on me. So you got a truck, you have the muffler, you know, it's pitch black outside, you know, there weren't any street lights.
Right.
And so the house that we were at was some football players, so they heard the crash, but it took so long because it was dark. It took them 45 minutes to find me.
Wow.
So not only to find me, but to lift this vehicle up.
Wow. And so are you conscious at that time? Are you consciously aware?
Yes, I feel the burn.
You feel the burn?
Yes, ma'am.
And so in that moment, where does your mind go?
I thought that was it. You know, how do I say goodbye to my parents? What's happening? What happened? You know, I thought that was it.
And so when they finally get there, what happens when the ball players get there?
So emergency, everyone comes over. And so once they finally get there, the vehicle is lifted and I'm able to be put in the ambulance to be escorted off.
And so do you think you're going to die at that point?
I don't know what to think.
You don't know what to think?
No, ma'am.
And so when you get to the hospital, what happens?
I go immediately, they take me to ICU, and I remember the coaches coming in because I know it's unfortunate, but of course they thought it was alcohol related, and it was not. It was not. And so that was a concern, and it was not. And so being in, you know, in ICU, now I'm waiting for my parents. I'm trying to see what happened, what's going on, what is the extent of my injuries. And so I'm kind of just there. But one thing I do remember, once they moved me to ICU and I'm all cleaned up, and so I'm kind of waiting, my mother makes it. She makes it with my aunt, and she walks into the room that I'm in, and she fainted. Because this was open, you know, you couldn't have it covered. And so all you see is the flesh
burn.
and
Oh my gosh.
Yes, ma'am.
And so when do you come to a sense of, will you survive, or will you be, you know, what are going to be the extent of your injuries? That
took time. I knew the survival part. I knew I was going to survive. You know, everything is intact. I'm fine. I have some broken bones, but I'm here. Now, as far as the recovery time and being able to play ball again, that's the mystery. Have no clue. You know.
And so what about the other people that were in the car?
Okay, so Tamara, the lady driving, not a scratch. My good friend that passed away recently, her name is Chandalyn Turner. She was in the back seat. She landed on her right side, so everything on her right side was numb. She had to learn to walk again. Learn to write. But everything was just kind of bruised where she landed. But she was fine. She recovered. But she's gone.
She later died.
No, recently.
Recently died.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. And so how does that change you when you find out that you're going to live, but of course your goal and your dream is to play basketball?
So as far as changing I was given an opportunity to play for a Division I school, and to have it, I felt like taken away was heartbreaking, because I'm like, okay, I practiced, I did everything to get to this point, made my parents proud. I'm at a Division I school that's known, you know, and here it is, I have this accident and it's gone, you know. So mentally, what do you do now? So now it's time to recover. Now it's time to come back. What do you do? You know, how do we get back to where you were? So then that's where the recovery phase comes in, and, you know, you start.
Is it still a dream and a goal?
It's still a dream and a goal. It's not an option to not play, you know, unless, you know, the bones were severely broken. No, you're not going to play. But one thing I will tell you, I had to be transferred to the burn unit in Shreveport.
Wow. Because
of the scars. They had to redo it and everything. And one thing that always stuck with me is that when we got there, the doctor had not seen my record, nothing. We got there and he came out to introduce himself and told me I would never walk again. My father was livid. He knew nothing of the case. He just knew I was a burn victim. And he told those words to me, that I would never walk again. Wow. So now I have to mentally think of that, you know, because again, I broke my pelvic bone in 8 different places.
Wow.
And I was told I could not bear children. So you have to think of that. I have to think, you know, I damaged the nerve.
All in one sitting. They tell you, you won't be able to have kids. You never be able to walk again.
Correct.
As a college student, how do you even begin to process that?
It's tough. I was a freshman. You know, it was just starting for me. you know. And so I'm sorry, I was a sophomore because I played some my freshman year. So I'm a sophomore and it's my turn. I'm going to start this year. I played behind this great player. She taught me well. Here it is. It's my turn. And with the blink, it was taken.
And so how do you get yourself mentally up to not say, woe is me, but to say, not only will I walk again, but I'll run again?
It took a long time. Lots of prayer because I had to learn to walk all over, you know.
Did you have faith then? Did you just know about God, or was God like real to you?
God was real to me. I did have faith, but we always questioned it. I questioned it quite a bit. I'm like, why? I did everything I was supposed to do to get to this point, and then this accident happened. Why? You know, all right, I've recovered. What happens next? Why? And so it was mentally draining.
And so what happens with school and what happens with your life during, you know, because everything now has to be put on hold so that you can get better. How do you make it through that?
Okay. So you have your family, you have friends, my teammates, coaches. I had a tremendous support system. So I was in Shreveport for a while until I was able to, you know, learn to walk and recover. So with that, I'm still able to get my schoolwork done. I'm able to still continue and I recover. Okay. So I recover to where I can practice. So this is a big deal. You know, I was told that I recovered sooner than I was supposed to, but I'm okay. So now I'm back on the court. You know, I have family friends.
How long was it?
6 months.
6 months. You're back on the court.
Back on the court.
So that in itself is a miracle because you weren't supposed to be able to walk.
Correct. Correct.
So you're back on the court, and then what happens?
So it's not 100%, but I'm able to get out there and practice and bang around and everything. So here it is. We have the start of the next season. And, you know, you have your practice, you're going out there. Well, then it got frustrating because the beginning of the season, we had 2 exhibition games and I didn't get to play in either game. So it was like I worked hard all summer. I worked hard to, you know, to prove that I'm okay, I can do this. And then your exhibition games where, you know, you're just allowed to play. I didn't get an opportunity to play. So now self-esteem, everything is shot.
Why do you think you didn't get a chance to play?
Honest, I'm not sure. Not sure. And it could have been because of my injuries. It could have been, but honestly, I'm not sure. You know, but that.
So now you're left questioning.
Me. Yes. Yes. So that broke me. And at that point, I wanted to transfer. I was like, I can't spend my last 2 years like this. I worked too hard to come back. And so I ended up transferring to a Division II school in Oklahoma, Cameron University. And that's where I finished. So
were you concerned, though, out of everything that your body had gone through, were you afraid for your internal self, you know, to play again? How do you get yourself? Not at the time. No, not at the time. At that time, I just wanted to play. I wanted to prove to my parents that, you know, and prove to everyone else that I can still play. That's where I went mentally. Now, in 2020, I feel all of it. You do know? You? So your body feels
everything. Yes, ma'am.
And so did you know, like, right away that God, the hand of God was upon and over and around the 3 of you? I didn't understand it. No, ma'am. I didn't. Of course, you, as a kid growing up, that's what you're taught to believe. You have faith and all this good stuff. But when that accident happened, I had no idea. When did you process that you were a miracle, that this was a miracle, that so many things could have gone just this much difference, you know, just the way that you landed? Being in the burn unit in Shreveport brought me back. I had to sit there every morning and I would have to wait for them to come in to clean my scar, you know, and which was so painful. And that just showed me I can, you know, I'm tougher than what I thought. You know, my skin is tougher than what I make it seem to be. And how long did it take your skin to heal and to, you know, to kind of come back to its... Because did you have to have skin grafts? Yes, ma'am. I had 2. Yes, ma'am. I had one done in Ruston, and then I had the second one done in Shreveport. Yeah. So, not sure how long that took, but it took a while for me to show it. I would never show it. I would have shirts with V-necks. I would try to get my mom to make different scarves and stuff. It took a long time for me to be able to show it. Did you have to grieve about that? I did.
Yes, ma'am. And one thing that brought me back, I said it could have been my face. You know, so that's what brought me back.
And your skin is so amazingly beautiful.
Thank you.
When did you start sharing, you know, the depths of your story?
When did I start sharing? Maybe 2012. Because 2007, I had another accident. A drunk driver hit me. And so that's what actually ended my career, basketball. Because once I finished college, I got an opportunity to go play overseas.
Wow.
I played in Spain, Dubai, Poland, Greece, and Lebanon.
Wow.
So I come home in 2007 and I buy my very first vehicle. You know, I love telling the story. It's a Dodge Durango. And I had it 2 weeks. And a drunk driver ran the light and got me. And so that pretty much ended my career because my knees were already bad from the wear and tear. But when we hit, both knees hit the dashboard and just destroyed me.
Wow. And so were you left questioning God? Why?
Of course. Yes, ma'am. And my grandmother, I mean, she always says you don't question, you know, but it's human nature.
It is human nature. And I think God wants us to question, you know. And so how do you grieve now the loss of your career?
That took some time. That took a lot of time. Yeah, the depression set in, the weight came on, not wanting to be bothered, not wanting to work, you know, to have your career taken, and it was not by choice. You know, I didn't stop on my own.
Right.
This drunk driver decided. And so mentally, I mean, I was in a very bad place.
How do you pull yourself out of that?
Prayer, family, friends. You keep people close to you that will keep you going. And that's what happened for me.
And then so after 2007, you are left to reimagine now what you will do because, you know, basketball has been your life.
Correct.
For all these years. And so how do you then reset and move into something else?
I don't know. It took some time. And so now I have to figure out what I'm going to do. You know, my degree is in health and physical education. So I should be coaching, teaching, but I wasn't feeling it then. I didn't want to do that just yet. And so you just get out there and just try to find your place and just see what I'm good at. How can I help? What can I do until I can mentally be back where I was?
And how does your relationship grow with God? Because now this is not just one miracle. This is 2 miracles. You know what I'm saying? Because they could have turned out so different.
So prayer is everything to me. I pray when I get up. I pray when I go to bed. And I like you said, you always question it, but prayer is a big deal. And so you still question things from time to time.
Sure.
But I still hold on to my faith as well.
And so then do you say, okay, God, you've saved me not once, but twice. What do you want me to do?
3 times.
Why? 3 times. What do you, 3 times. All right. What do you want for me to be doing? Because, people just, you don't want to just take that and say like, you were lucky. You just know it was a source higher and greater than yourself. And if you believe in God, you know it was God.
Yes, ma'am. So now it's about your purpose. Now I'm trying to find out what is my purpose. He has allowed me to still be here, to still be around, still see my family and friends. And so that's where fitness came in. Like I said, I had put the weight on. I'm like, okay, this is enough. And so if I can't play basketball, I can still be active. And so that's where the fitness came in. And so I decided to get back on track myself, because I can't preach this to no one else if I don't look the part.
Right.
And so fitness became a habit and I've stuck with it ever since.
And so you started training people.
Yes, ma'am.
And so was that meaningful? How did that, kind of help to, the working out and help you to get past all of the things that
because I see the excitement in the people that I train. My voice carries, and so me telling them what to do, how to do it, and then them improving, showing me what they can do. I'm a big accountability person. So if you reach out to me, Mel, I need help with this, this, and this. Okay, I'm going to text you and remind you. I'm going to show up. So getting that back in return is what makes it worth it.
And so, how did your parents persevere through? So much tragedy, really. I mean, what could have been tragedy, but it turned out that, you came out of all of these things, how does that, I guess, grow their faith?
I'm not sure, honestly, but I mean, they've been there every step of the way. You know, my dad, well, both of my parents, very church-going people, you know, pray this, pray that, pray before you do this. And so just holding on to their faith.
And so now you're moving on in life, and you're going to be getting married. And so what was, you know, do you think that you would be able to have children, or did that change your childhood?
Changed it 100%.
Did you have to grieve about that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, that's tough. Because at one point, that wasn't what I wanted anyway. I'm like, I'm fine. You know, I like to travel. I like to get up and go. But to be told that you won't be able to mentally stuck with me. And so I just was like, okay, I'm going to accept it. And, you know, I'll be okay.
Sure. And what about the young lady that was driving the car? What was that conversation like with her afterward?
We've never spoken.
Were you angry with her?
Very much. She never came to the hospital. We haven't spoken since that accident. She never came to check. She never apologized. Nothing.
What do you make of that?
Guilt, maybe. But
so y'all never resolved. Never had any.
I can't even tell you her last name.
Really?
We had just met. We, her and I had tried out they had a modeling group on campus. And we tried out, both made it. And so that's how I met her. And so it was a couple weeks. I hadn't known her too long, but we kind of hit it off. And yes, but I have not heard from her since.
Were you able to forgive her in some sort of way?
I had to. I had to move on. If I held that grudge, it would have brought me down. It would have made it worse. So I had to. Yes, ma'am.
Wow. And so what life lessons do you take away from near death? There's got to be some, you know, because, I mean, none of the things that happened were nearly your fault. But, I mean, does it make you just more careful? Does it make you kind of look at the world in a different way?
To be honest with you, no. I'm a on the edge type person. I live for the day. I live for the moment. And so
it didn't put you in fear?
No, ma'am. The only thing that I feared was curves, driving in a curve. You have to go slow in a curve. I'm a whole lot better now. But then that was my fear. Please slow down in a curve, you know. But I'm just I'm an easygoing person, you know. And so it
didn't stop you from living your life?
No, ma'am. Because even after that, I left the country. I went and played ball overseas, you know. So I couldn't allow that to hold me down. I couldn't.
So when you look at girls now that are coming through the league, and you've got the WNBA, and, you know, is coaching, you think, on your radar anywhere? Mentoring young girls?
It is. I would love to, you know, but I guess hadn't been given the opportunity to do it yet. The personal training took off for me. And so that's where I am right now. I would never say no to it. I guess if I'm put in the right position to do it, I will. I've had a couple people that reached out that wants me to train their girls, but I just have to make it work, being that I'm in Lafayette. So I would love to. I just hadn't had the right opportunity to do it yet.
Well, we're so glad that you are here and that you lived through what could have been, you know, a different situation, and that miracles happen, and you're able to be on this side to tell what happened and to make it through and still show that even in the worst case scenarios, or what appeared to be the worst case scenarios, that you could still thrive and survive, you know, and not just live a life in darkness. And we're just grateful that you're here and you're beautiful.
Thank you.
And we know that your star is going to shine so bright, and we can't wait to see what God has next for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mel, for sharing your story.
You're very welcome.
Indeed. Hey, everybody, stay on point. We're back after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. This is my final point on point today. We want to thank Mel and thank her for her beautiful spirit. You know, when you start to think about miracles, I think we all start to have a different perspective about what a miracle is and how and why miracles happen. And I guess because we don't know exactly how they happen, that's the mystery. But for all intents and purposes, Mel probably shouldn't be here. You know, being thrown out of a car approximately 150 feet, and if that's not enough, having a truck land on you and sit on your chest for 45 minutes and be able to eventually walk away and share the story is nothing short of miraculous. But as I was thinking about her story and hearing it for the first time, I started thinking, you know, sometimes we think a miracle happens like that. But her miracle was a process. After she lived through being thrown out of the car, having a truck sit on her chest for approximately 45 minutes or maybe longer, having her pelvis broken and shattered into pieces, she could have made a decision to be pitiful. She could have said, you know what? My dreams of playing Division I basketball are not going to happen. It is over for me. And at that age, you start to, you can't really process the next thing because all you can think about is the here and the now. But through her family's prayer, through her resilience, she made a decision. I'm going to channel the power and not the pity. And she got up after the doctor said, not only will you not walk, you certainly won't run, you won't be able to have kids. And she defied the odds to go on and finish her basketball career, to go on and play overseas, and to live out that dream. But I think that when a miracle doesn't happen in the moment, Scripture says some were healed as they went, like they didn't have an instant effect, but as they went, they were healed. And I think that it takes so much courage to stay engaged for the miracle. And the miracle doesn't always have to be being healed. Sometimes the miracle is in not quitting. You're right there. You've done the work and you've stood, but you get tired or you start to feel pitiful and you cave. Was the miracle right there on the other side? And I think that that's what the resilience of the human spirit is. And then she gets into another car accident and she had another opportunity to quit, but she decided, I'm going to pull myself up out of darkness and I'm going to find out what I'm here for. God has graced me. He has saved me and I'm not going to quit. So this morning, more than anything, for those people who were saying, woe is me, and I can't make it up, is your miracle, is my miracle waiting for me to take an action, to have an expectation, and to keep doing the work? Sometimes the miracle is unlocked by the work. And so that's why, it's so exciting to hear and to see how resilient we are as people when we just keep on keeping on. And I think that's the big idea and the big moral of any miracle. Never say die, never quit. And that is my final point, on point today. Stay with us. We're back to wrap up right after this.